Hey, you guys, thanks so much for joining me here. I am so excited to be talking to you about how to find podcast guests worth interviewing. So a couple of different tips that I have to offer you. This is going to be very, very short and precise and to the point. So finding podcast guests that are worth interviewing. What does the worth mean, right? What does the worth mean in that particular sentence? That just basically means that you want to find people and individuals that your audience will find valuable information in, right? So you want to have guests on your show, on your podcast, that are going to provide valuable insight, information, experiences, etc., right? So on and so forth. And also that they're entertaining and upbeat, that they fit the mode of your podcast and the feel of your podcast. Your rhythm is what I like to call it. So first and foremost, you need to sit down and figure out what your rhythm is. A couple of different ways that you can figure out what your rhythm is for your podcast is just the look and the feel, right? What does your podcast art look like? How does that then connect to your topic? And then how does that then connect to the conversations that you have on your podcast, the different podcast episodes that you have, right? Individuals that you've had on the podcast before, or topics that you've explored before on your podcast. So you need to look at the rhythm of it and make sure that anyone that you are asking to come onto your podcast or onto your YouTube channel, so on and so forth, that they actually fit and resonate with your particular audience. So that's first and foremost. So then number two, the second thing is that you want to make sure that they are, how do we say that you mesh well, right? So I always recommend that before you actually get on the podcast itself, you have a consult call, right? That's where you hop on a call, you speak to the guest that you're looking to have on your show, and you talk to them a bit. Because what you perceive to be someone that may provide valuable information and insight and all that good stuff, which they may very well do, you may not resonate with them, right? You may not get a vibe with them, right? Which you'll definitely wreck and mess up the groove, mess up your rhythm, right? And it's just like being on the dance floor. So for instance, if you are on the dance floor and you hear a certain song come on and you hear a rhythm and you're dancing to a rhythm, to a groove, right? And then someone comes up, let's say you're listening to R&B, so you're kind of swaying and you're going a little slow, but then someone comes up and it's like rock music like in their ear. You can't hear the rock music, but they're just like jumping around in your face. You're like, wait a minute, dude. Like, you're going to tell them, step back. Like, this is messing up the whole environment. The same thing happens with your podcast, right? You can't have someone come into your territory, onto your platform, if you two aren't resonating, if you two aren't doing a back and forth dance. So let's use a comparison, right? So we have the individual, we have myself, I'm on the dance floor, I'm listening to R&B, I'm kind of swaying to the music, and then someone comes in, they're listening to rock and roll in their earphones and they're jumping all around me. There's two different things going on, right? We aren't meshing well in this environment. However, on the opposite end of that, let's say I'm on the floor and I'm listening to R&B and I'm moving and grooving, and then someone else comes up and they start moving and grooving at the same tempo and the same beat as I am. That's what needs to happen in your podcast environment as well. You need to make sure that you continue the same rhythm that you started off with, and that it continues throughout all of your episodes, throughout that particular episode essentially, but through all of your episodes subsequently after that as well. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found this valuable. Now, how to find them. So that's first part, right? So now how do we go out and we find them, right? So that was the first part. Now, how do we find them? So a couple of different ways that you can find people to interview on your podcast is to look through Eventbrite, right? Search the topics that relate to what you're talking about and then go out there and find it. It's funny because I heard someone talking about this on a live stream, and I've been doing this actually for years now. I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years. I would go to Eventbrite and I'd actually reach out to them to see if I can be a speaker at their event. I also went to the other website where members join on. I can't remember the other one. Meetup.com. I go to meetup.com as well and do the same thing there. I would go to event sites and community event sites that I knew for my area, and also extended sites that, maybe for news channels or radio channels as well, and look at the community events that they were having there, and then just pitch myself to those particular events and say that I can come and speak. Well, you could do this same tactic, but in a way of inviting individuals to come on your podcast. So if they have a message that resonates with you, and if you two have a rhythm on that initial call, then you definitely want to have them on the podcast. If you do not have a rhythm and you guys aren't doing the same dance, then it's something that you can just say, you know what, maybe at a later time we can connect, we can reconnect, and maybe possibly we can do that. best thing for you to do in best case scenario would be for you to be honest and upfront. You could say, we're having this conversation and I feel like my environment and my audience may be a bit different than the individuals that you speak to on a regular basis. There's a way that you can break it down to them where you're saying, at this time, I don't want to move forward. However, that's not to devalue you and what you bring to the table. It's just that we aren't doing a dance. And not everybody's going to like you. Let's just keep it real, right? Not everyone is going to like the content that you put out. Not everyone is going to like your personality and your character. And that's completely fine. Your problem is not with the individuals that don't like you, right? That's not your problem, right? You're going to just say, you know what, that is what it is. Whatever you have against me is not my problem to take in, right? But we are going to look at the individuals and the people that do resonate with us, that do provide value, that do our same dance, right? Because that's when you'll get the most value and the most bang for your buck in your podcast interviews. So number one is to go on the internet, of course, and to search. Like I said, Eventbrite, meetup.com, go to community pages for your news channels, for your radio stations, all that good stuff. Compile and grab all of their community events and reach out to the speakers and individuals that may be involved in those events that resonate with your particular topic and what you like to talk about. So that's number one. Number two is to actually go out there and meet some people, right? Go to conferences, in-person events, in real life events, and speak to individuals and tell them that you want to interview them on your podcast. Also, another great tool that I didn't mention before with the internet is going to YouTube. Going to YouTube and listening to other people's podcasts there on YouTube, because podcasts can be both visual as well as audio only. So you can go to YouTube and listen to a couple of different podcasts or even video series, and you can ask those individuals who have been interviewed before and you feel like you may have some type of synergy there, hey, I'd like you to come on my podcast. Another way is to look through speaker bureaus. Speaker bureaus hold a gazillion, right, speakers on a various amount of topics. So you definitely can check for the speakers bureau in your area and go through and find some guests there that you think would be interesting. And the next one is, of course, the one that everyone talks about, the one that everyone wants to do, is experts in your niche, experts and celebrities in your niche. So individuals you may see on television, who may have a large social media following, so on and so forth. You want to reach out to those individuals who may be in, magazines, Ebony, Essence, Time Magazine, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, so on and so forth. Reach out to them. Don't be afraid to position your podcast, even if you don't have a lot of downloads, none of that stuff. Don't think about any of that. Just ask the question. You'd be amazed at what will come to you when you just pose the question and ask for what you want and expect to receive it. So my name is Jessica A. Walker, and I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking to you soon. You can go to bit.ly/talktojal to find out more information about me and to book a free consultation there. You can visit my website at jessicawalker.online. All right? Wishing you wellness in life and in business. Peace.